Hello, Internet! My name is Catherine Barsonistis, and you are watching The Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis, a show where I make a recipe inspired by some role-playing game, tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, Pathfinder, Shadowrun, and, well, whatever I happen to get my hands on that happens to have food involved. Today we are going back to Dungeons & Dragons, this time taking a little bit of a break from the Baldur's Gate cuisine culinary scene, and we are going to the Dale Lands. In Volo's Guide to the Dale Lands, there is an adventurers club known as, and I have it on my thing right here, it is known as the Fall of Stars. The only way to make it into the Fall of Stars is to be invited in by another member of the Fall of Stars, and because there are issues with doppelgangers, a lot of times they will ask you to make the same club sigil and compare it to the last time you did it when they were in the club. So today's recipe is one of their favorites, which the Bard Volo managed to find a recipe for a boar and chestnut hot deep pot, which is a boar stew with roasted chestnuts. I did not actually get my hands on any wild boar or anything like that for this recipe, so we're going to be using some pork loin instead. But granted, if you're here, you probably want to learn how to cook it, and the chances of you being able to get wild boar are kind of slim to none as well. So we're going to be starting out with this is about a 3-pound pork loin. Let's see, sorry. I need to actually update my recipe because I wrote down 2-pound, but most of the times you're going to find it between 3 to 4 pounds. You're going to want to go for a 3 to 4 pound pork loin with the fat cap still on it, and that's usually how they're sold. So don't worry about trying to ask your butcher for any particular special thing because that's how they're sold anyway. You're welcome. I made this slightly easier for you. Okay, I am talking a bit fast, and that means I need to slow the heck down. So I'm just going to have a sip of this suspicious orange liquid here. And if you're wondering what that suspicious orange liquid is, it's called Kitasol. It tastes of oranges and fire. It's a Scandinavian recipe that my friend Jay Peterson makes, a family recipe. And yes, it is strong. And yes, it tastes of oranges and fire. It is quite delicious. I enjoy it. Anyway, this recipe, like I said, it's actually featured in the Volo's Guides to the Dale Lands, where the Bard Volo says that the recipe for which was covertly acquired by the persuasive charms of your diligent servant and is recorded on the next page, and to which Elminster has a little footnote saying, Gods, don't cooks have any standards left? Seduction? By Volo? 'Tis enough to turn my stomach. Sigh. So, yeah, this particular stew involves pork loin, or as the recipe says, diverse pieces of boar meat, enough to fill a great pot. A handful of black pepper, handful of salt, a pour of mushroom juice, crush or boil field mushrooms to gain this if you do not have it on hand, an onion, a clove of garlic, a handful of flour, a pour of Thurin's oil, which in the footnotes just says cooking oil, 4 pours of dry cider, 4 pours of beef stock, a handful of parsley, herbs to taste, and 2 handfuls of chestnuts. And yes, so part of my work today was actually trying to modernize this recipe to make sure that it has standard measurements, so you're not just kind of having to buy giant tubs of black pepper and then just stick your hand in it. I mean, you could, but I like to be a little bit more sanitary than that, so just going off of what the measurements he said, also kind of, I will say, after doing so much cooking, you kind of learn how to eyeball how much, like a tablespoon or a quarter of a cup or anything like that is. So when he describes handful, I'm like, oh, that's maybe about a tablespoon or 2, or that's about a quarter of a cup. That sounds about right. Or a pour. Oh, that sounds like about a quarter of a cup. But you know what? I'm gonna go with more of a cup on this because, especially for a stew, you want a little bit more liquid for the meat to braise in. And also because we only have about 2 hours today, and normally it takes, according to this recipe, it takes about 2 hours of stewing after doing all of that. We're not going to be doing that. Granted, in my I will include instructions on how to do that on the stovetop. If you don't have any particular special equipment, and the special equipment I'm going to be using today is in fact an electric pressure cooker, which is going to reduce my cooking time to about 20 minutes as opposed to 2 hours, because otherwise it's going to be just me 2 hours going ba 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 ba, or just getting really drunk, and I don't really think you want to see that, and I don't really think that Twitch's standards really allow that, come to think of it. So, I'm going to save you that particular issue. I mean, granted, now it's to the point where Instant Pot / electric pressure cookers are so, I want to say, inexpensive to get. I want to say the least expensive model out there is probably the standard Instant Pot, which is about probably around $40. Don't quote me on that. But it's still not all that expensive, and it's a great thing to have, especially if you just want to stick it in the pot and let it cook and then stay warm while you are setting up your game for your players when they do arrive, you know, once the plague happens to finally subside. We're getting there. We are getting there, folks. We are definitely getting there before we go absolutely and utterly insane. But yes, before I prattle on, we should get on with our recipe. So what you're going to need, like I said, about a 3 to 4 pound pork loin. You're going to need a handful of parsley, and just get a standard bunch of parsley like you would get from the grocery store. Italian parsley I prefer the flavor of as opposed to curly parsley. This one's a little old, but we can just kind of pick out the stems that we don't really want. The rest of it is still good to use because about half of this is going to be going into the actual stewing process of our deep pot today. The other half we are going to chop up into garnish. So I'm just going to take this half here and kind of just set it to the side for now. I don't need that yet. Then I'm going to take the dried rosemary stems. I have about 2. I would have gone for fresh, but it is dark outside, so I'm gonna spare my husband the trip outside, even though I think he already went out for a smoke, but that's fine. Besides, I've got this rosemary here. We're just gonna use that, and some stems of dried, fresh thyme that has dried on me, and we're just going to put that all together in a bundle. And this is when you're gonna need kitchen twine. Now, the French term for this, and term oftentimes used in cooking, is a bouquet garni, or a garnish bouquet, a garnish bundle. But considering that it's kind of a misnomer, considering that when you're done with this, we throw it out. It served its purpose, and you don't really want a bunch of wilted herbs decorating the pot of the bowl of stew you're being served, now do you? So I've got some twine. I am just going to kind of wrap this up as best as I can into a bunch. Now, if you guys are into witchcraft like I am, you would kind of recognize, like, oh, it looks a little bit like a smudge stick. Well, that's kind of the same principle, except we're cooking it rather than burning it. So the whole deal is that I'm doing this so it is easy to take out of the pot when we're done and throw it away. We are throwing this away. Yes. Right, so we're putting that to the side there. Okay. And the remainder of these herbs, well, these are kind of wilty, so I'm going to throw them away. And since I have a cutting board that has not been contaminated with pork juice at the moment, I'm going to take the time to go ahead and chop up the remainder of that fresh parsley, so I have it ready to go once we are done with cooking our dish today. So, parsley, chef's knife, and to kind of give you a quick lesson on knife skills. This is how you hold a cooking knife. The index finger of your dominant hand, mine happens to be my right, up against the blade here, up where the blade happens to meet the handle. Pinch there. And you don't necessarily have to have a really tight pinch, you just have to have enough to keep control. I mean, you can keep it relaxed, and the nice thing about this grip is that when something starts to slip, all it takes is just the tiniest bit of pressure to keep it from moving. So, we got that, and now we're kind of go in sort of a rocking motion as I bunch this together to chop up our fresh parsley. And I'm actually going to hold on to the stems, which I should have put in the bouquet garni. Meh. Right, I was going to hold on to those, but now I'm going to toss them because I've got 1,000,000 stock bags in the fridge. However, if I didn't have 1,000,000 stock bags in the freezer, I would tell you that with your vegetable and herb scraps, that you need to put them in a freezer bag, along with any chicken bones or pork chop bones, of any kind of animal bones that you cook with, not your dog's toy, mind you, into a gallon-sized freezer bag. And once that bag is full, well, you freeze it. And once that bag is completely full, you put it in your crock pot. Fill your crock pot with water, set it on there for about 8 to 10 hours, and then strain it out. You've got a delicious homemade stock without having to spend the money for it. I haven't done that in a while, for one, but also, I don't usually get beef bones, and today's recipe does require beef stock. I was going to go with beef bone broth, but it was actually about 3 times the price of this quart of stock here. You're only going to need about a quart. You're welcome. It was only about $2 at Kroger, honestly. I mean, you could spend more money on the more name brand stuff, but I go with the standard store brand. We are adding flavor, so we don't necessarily have to have it be incredibly flavorful, unless you want to. Or use beef bone broth. It has a more velvety mouthfeel, and it also is a bit more flavorful. But like I said, the only brand I could find of beef bone broth at the store today was name brand and about $6, as opposed to this, which was $2. So there you go. You're welcome. So the next bit is the other parts of our recipe. Now, this recipe calls for mushroom juice, and normally I would just tell you, like, I would just put a mushroom stock cube in there. Don't. I understand that, I mean, you could, but considering that it's not as easily found in most grocery stores, you don't have to. Instead, or rather, because we're going to be adding some button mushrooms today. So we're just going to be about 4 or 5 of them. Just going to cut that in half, and then we're going to cut about 1/2-inch slices on these folks. So 1/2-inch slices. That's one. That's got a bit of dirt on it. It'll be fine. Adds an earthy flavor to it. Or something. Okay. And just make sure that your hand is nowhere near the blade while you're doing this. Because a lot of knife skills are creating stable surfaces and equal-sized pieces. Knife skills will keep you from cutting your hand off, cutting your finger off. I mean, you might still cut part of your fingernail off. I know I have multiple times. But it's not as devastating as, say, cutting your hand off or cutting your finger off. You don't necessarily have to put your broken fingernail in milk, which you don't always stock, which I know we certainly don't. So that's about 2 mushrooms. So I'm just going to need about, and these ones are rather large, I'm going to go with about 4 total, I think. See how I'm feeling in a bit. So, slice this in half. And 1/4-inch slices, and a lot of it is just kind of, okay, so you have a piece that's about a 1/4-inch thick, you just make sure that the next one is about so similar thickness. You don't have to get a ruler out, is what I'm saying. You don't have to. I mean, if you really want to, you could, but you don't have to. So, alright, that's 3? Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Admittedly, this recipe is not only based off approximations, it kind of contains a few approximations. So now that I've got these suckers all cut up, I am just going to stick this into a bowl to hold on to until I'm ready for it, which I am not ready for it yet. So I'm just gonna stick that there, because that's the thing about button mushrooms, or just mushrooms in general. They're basically tiny little sponges of umami. And the thing is with sponges is that they soak in moisture, but they also contain a lot of moisture. I mean, have you ever gotten those little, like, I want to say novelty sponges, where it's like a wafer thin sort of, like a coaster that usually has a company name on it because people tend to order it all the time like that, and then you add water and then it just, it's a sponge. Same concept. Mushrooms are the sponges of the culinary world, which is why when we cook them, we don't want there to be all that much oil in the pan, because what happens when oil hits, what happens when water hits hot oil? It splutters, it goes all over the place. There's a lot of water in mushrooms. You want to get a lot of that moisture out before you add water, otherwise it'll get kind of slimy, but also the oil will kind of splutter a lot of places. But also, I think I just actually explained that. They'll get slimy unless you cook out some of that moisture first. So we're just going to set that apart over there. And next we're going to get to the other part of our prep, which is our onion. Now, you get the largest yellow onion you can find. Let's see. I've got 2 right here. This one's larger. I'm going to use it still, just not on this recipe. And then you just cut off this papery bit here. And like I said, stable surfaces and equal-sized pieces. So I'm just going to cut down the root end. I'm not going to cut off the root end yet, because this is what keeps it together and keeps it from sliding all over my cutting board, and, you know, makes it more likely for my hand to slip, my blade to slip, and me chop my finger off. So just to make things a little easier, I'm just going to peel back this top layer. We're going to throw this part out. However, this next bit, and this is also from the original recipe, is that you need 1 onion thinly sliced. So we're just going to go very thin on our slicing here. Like wafer thin. And you notice my other hand is not anywhere near my knife right now. I am basically keeping the onion stable as I possibly can as I do these slices. Now, since I am running out of space here, and I think, did the onions go in at the same time in the mushrooms? What did I actually write down? Derpa derpa der. Onions do not go in the same time, so we're just gonna stick those in another bowl for now. Just so I have a little bit more room on my cutting board. So, once again, stupidly thin. And you'll notice now I've actually moved my hand to the peel here. And that is so I'm able to still keep a hold on the onion, but not actually have my fingers near the blade. So, just gonna keep on slicing until there we go. That's all the onion we need for this particular recipe. Oh wait, no, it's not. I have another half of the onion. Silly me. This is what happens when you drink Kitasol and cook. Maybe I should drink Kitasol and cook more often. Okay. So we got the other half of the onion here, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. The little papery bit back there. Okay. And since this board is not entirely all that large, and my knife tends to hit the grooves, now I would switch to another board, but one, I hate waste, but two, I still need to slice up this bit. A carving board with that ridge is actually ideal for this recipe because raw meat juice has a tendency to go all over the place, doesn't it? What am I kidding? Meat juice goes all over the place. I don't want to have to disinfect my bamboo board here because it's a pain in the butt. So that's why we are just doing everything on this chopping board today. And I admit I actually need to hone this blade a little bit. It's lost a little bit of its sharpness. It's still usable. And tell you what, after I wash this, and after we get this stew in the pressure cooker going, I will show you how to hone a blade for future use. Just right now, I need this blade, and I don't want to have to dirty up another blade yet. And, depending on how much time we have tonight, I am tempted to make some cookies. Tempted. You're going to have to tempt me a little further. I mean, considering that once we get everything all prepped and started cooking, it's going to take 20 minutes for me to have our stew be finished. Now, I don't have any other recipes planned tonight other than this. So, bonus, not really recipe so much as we're making some cookies. Maybe. I don't know. I've been having kind of a chocolate craving for the past few days, if you know what I mean. And it's only intensified by the fact that we don't really have much chocolate in the house right now. So we did make some chocolate snickerdoodles kind of at the last minute the other night. And that was kind of hilarious because we were both kind of tipsy at the time. And chocolate snickerdoodles, do you have the recipe? I do not. We took, I want to say like the either Taste of Home or Pioneer Woman's recipe for snickerdoodles and then just started adding stuff to the mixer. Going, okay, I want chocolate. I'm putting cocoa powder in this, dang it. And like, well, what if we need more liquid? Let's see if we need more liquid first, why don't we? So, yeah, I think we ended up making it with some vanilla extract, salt and vinegar, and God, what was the other liquid thing? What was it? I can't think of it off the top of my head. It was quite good. So I'm kicking myself for not writing down what we did. But I didn't. I didn't. I kind of wish I did. So, got my onions, I've got my mushrooms. I'm just going to set that by our pressure cooker here for when we're ready to start cooking. Don't worry, I've already aimed the camera at the inside of the pressure cooker so you can see what I'm doing. So yeah, we've got our onion prepped, and we've got our bouquet garni, and we got our mushrooms, which means I want to say the last bit of vegetable bit we need to prepare is, in fact, our garlic. So, Volo's Guide's recipe suggests a clove of garlic. A clove! Oh, a lot of times when cooks give you a recipe, they oftentimes leave out a little bit. Whether it's I'm trying to feed picky eaters. or they just forget to because they're not used to writing down recipes, or a lot of times in the case, it's a secret. And I want to say a single clove of garlic. If you are ever reading a recipe and see 1 clove of garlic, they mean 4. So, I've got 5 so far, and I think I might add another one. I'm going to write this recipe with 4 cloves of garlic because I'm nice. I'm going to tell you, because you are actually watching this video, to put 6 in. Because that's what I want. Alright, so if you don't have a fancy schmancy little silicone tube for peeling garlic like I do, let me show you a quick and easy way to peel garlic. You take your knife here, hold the handle like so, put the thicker part of your blade on the clove of garlic, take your palm of your hand, voila! Peeled garlic. Is it pretty? No, it's not pretty. And you know what? I'm not going to use my fancy schmancy silicone tube today for garlic. Because I'm going to smash this garlic anyway. I might as well woman up and do it. Haha. There we go. 2 cloves of garlic. There we go. 3. And I understand the irony here of using the count's voice, don't you worry. 4. Alright. Oh good. I still have my sound. Yeah, I had bought this microphone thinking, oh, it's rechargeable. I don't have to worry about it going out on me. And now it's loose from its charger and not always charging. Yay! All technology is built to become obsolete within months, it seems. You notice I am hitting this part of the blade, not this part of the blade. Though I should probably just keep it square anyway, just so it doesn't flip up into my hand. Okay, there we go. 6 giant cloves of garlic. Alright, and now I'm going to show you an easier way to mince said garlic. My hands are rather sticky, so I'm just going to give them a quick rinse. Yeah, thing is, garlic has such a high sugar content that when you're cutting it and handling it, you notice how sticky it gets? It's that onion content, which makes it caramelize probably a little too quickly, which is also why you want to add your garlic later in the cooking process because it burns faster than onions. Anytime you see a recipe that says put your onions and garlic in at the same time and cook for like 5 minutes, they're wrong, and that includes my recipes. I have learned better. Actually, you don't want the garlic cooking for more than about 30 to 60 seconds, otherwise it'll burn. And when it burns, it gets bitter and thus defies the whole purpose of cooking the garlic to begin with. So, there you go. Now, to make the mincing process go a little easier, got some kosher salt here. Now, salt, when you chop garlic into it, not only helps release those, it not only kind of helps season and flavor the garlic, it helps release those oils a little bit better. Just so, for one, it doesn't make you cry as easily, but also makes it a little easier to cut, and also makes it a bit sweeter. So, I'm just going to smash out a little bit more, and then take out that papery piece there. Now, since this is minced, I don't necessarily have to worry about it being all the same size. I basically kind of want a kind of paste. I mean, you could use a garlic press, but if you don't feel like cleaning out your garlic press like me, or if you don't have one, or if you've used one you don't recently, you don't want to run the dishwasher, or if you don't have a dishwasher, this is how you go. And you notice how I'm still holding the knife in that pinch earlier. This keeps it from going from side to side or slipping on me as I do a finer mince. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more salt to the board. A little bit more smashed. And chop. Now granted, by all means, if you have a garlic press, go ahead and use that garlic press. I just don't feel like getting mine out now. Especially, it's only going to take me about 20 minutes to cook this. I mean, I've got to fill about 2 hours here, and I'm only about a half an hour in. So if I go too fast, then I'm just kind of sitting around going ba-ba-ba. I mean, granted, yes, it's a short episode, but, you know, for all of those folks on YouTube, well, you know, you have the fast forward function. While you're on Twitch, however, and we're live, you're in here with me. Right. That was flattering. So. There we go. Alright, we still have got about 3 more cloves to go. So, smash. And chop. And mince. I mean, I will have to say there is something actually kind of therapeutic about cutting vegetables, which I realize I don't do often enough. And part of that is when you're living only 2 people and your cooking for the blog tends to be in larger batches, you tend to have leftovers for longer periods of time. And also when you've been fasting, when you're cooking, you're hungry, you just want to get it over with. So, there we go. Yes, I've gotten back into fasting. I managed to go a whole month at a 16/8 schedule. Lately I've been hitting almost 18 hours. It's hard, but doable. And while my weight has been fluctuating, certain things have started to fit me better, and that is part of my main goal here. Let's get those little papery bits out of there. We do not want papery bits in our stew. Any more papery bits? No. Any more papery bits on here? No. So, another reason why I am doing this on the carving board instead of a longer cutting board is that when I cut the pork here, it's also going to get a little bit of that garlic juice in it. Gonna be good. So, smash! Gluttonous Geek smash! Alright, let's get that in there. And a thought occurred to me, and it's like, did my social media posts actually go out saying I was streaming? Because I'm not really seeing anybody tonight, and that kind of worries me a little bit. It's like, where is everybody? Are you dead? Better not be dead. I hope you aren't dead. So, let's see here. Did we post? Yes, we posted. Just not seeing anybody yet. Okay, and what about the Facebooks? Did we post? Yeah, it posted. Okay. I guess folks have other things to do tonight. Alright. No worries. I see one viewer. You're in here with me. Okay, right. So our garlic is all minced and stuff. So I'm just gonna... Notice I'm doing the back of the knife with this, not the sharp side. I'm just gonna stick all of that into a prep dish for now, until we are ready to cook it. So, dish, garlic, alright. This might actually be a short episode tonight. My husband just said cookies. Okay. A short episode of actually making the recipe. And then I'll tell you guys, you know, if you don't just want to listen, watch me make cookies with my husband, for that 20 minutes we're waiting on the stew, 30 minutes actually, because you have about 10 minutes that you need to turn off the pressure cooker to let it come to a natural release. Otherwise, you have steam spurting all over your kitchen and ruining your cabinetry. I have been convinced by my husband saying the word cookies that we're going to make some cookies tonight. And if that's the case, that means I need to soften some butter. So let me go ahead and get a stick or two of butter out to sit on the countertop until we are ready to make some cookies. Dang it, now I want chocolate chip cookies. Is this for a special recipe thing? It could have been if I actually put more thought into it, but no. No, it's not. Nope. We're just gonna make them because I want cookies. My husband wants cookies too, and he's already come with the stand mixer for when we're ready for it, which I'm not ready for it yet, so if you could just stick that over there for now. Don't worry, I shall be ready for the stand mixer soon. Soon. Hey babe, can you bring over the trash can though? Because I'm realizing this is more garlic papery bits than I anticipated. Or that works too. Alright. So now that we have the rest of our mise en place ready to go, it is time to cut up that pork. The butter off to the side. 3-pound pork loin. I'm just gonna cut this out of here and drain that package because there's juice in here. I thought there was juice in there, but there isn't. Maybe, possibly. Well, bam. There we go. Isn't it pretty? Just gonna get the handle of my knife out of the way. Because a big thing with raw proteins, especially if you're working with something like pork or chicken, it's usually good to keep one hand clean and the other can mess with everything else. So we're going to be making about 1 to 2 inch chunks. So let's go with that's about a 2-inch plank right there. So first we're going to cut some 2-inch chops. My thumb did get a little bit of pork on it, but that's okay. As long as I don't touch that surface to the handle of my knife, which is going to make so I don't have to clean the handle of my knife as much as the blade. So, there we go. And let's cut that in half. Okay. Alright. So, as I've said, stable surfaces and roughly equal sized pieces. So, I think we're actually aiming for probably inch pieces at this point. Or, I guess 2-inch. It's about 2-inch chunks. Oh, what the heck, let's go for more of a 1-inch. There There we go. Let's cut that in half. And the biggest thing is you want them about roughly the same size as the rest of them. Probably more around 1.5 inch pieces, but that is perfectly fine. Just cut that in half. Hunk. Hunk. And yes, this will cook down. This will cook down into more bite-sized pieces. Just right now, we are trying to get them to roughly the same size so they cook in roughly the same amount of time as the other. So, there we go. And there we go. Haha. Damn it. Yeah, that'll do. And if you noticed, yes, this actually kind of does fit the description of enough to fill a pot. Now, there's 2 ways you can cook this. Tonight, we're going to be doing it with an electric pressure cooker or an Instant Pot. It basically uses the same process as well as portions. Or you could do this in a large pot or Dutch oven on the stovetop. I will give you the instructions on how to do that as we go along. But in the meantime, let me just go ahead and spread out our pork here best as we can so it isn't a single layer. I'm just going to set my chef's knife over here for a minute. Don't worry, I will wash it. But first, I want to take a paper towel or two and dry this off some. Just removing a little bit of that extra moisture makes it brown a little better. Because a lot of the flavor you get in most cooked animal proteins is that Maillard reaction, the browning, the savory amino acids that you get from that process. Hey, buddy. And I don't want to deprive you of that, so it's a lot easier if you start out with drier protein. So that's also why you tend to dry a steak before searing it, for example. So first I just need to kind of refill that kosher salt here, and like I said, this is also why it's good to work with one hand that's clean and the other one handles the contaminants, because you're less likely to contaminate other stuff, for example. But also, my sound still working? Okay, my sound's still working. Also, you don't have to wash your hands 50 times between every single darn step. And you know, you can also take a drink. Okay, so I've got all my things. Now it's time to set up my pressure cooker. That's not it. First, it helps if I actually plug the darn thing in. Let's go ahead and switch to our tripod for a second. And this is kind of where I wish I had zoom. Here I have a Fagor electric multi-cooker. It's like a 6-quart or a 5-quart. it doesn't matter because we're going to only be using about 2 quarts of liquid in this particular recipe. So you don't have to have like a standard 5-quart pressure cooker or Dutch oven should work with you well. Now, where I'm using the Dutch oven right now, I would tell you to put it on the stovetop for on medium heat, medium flame for about 3 minutes to allow that surface to preheat. Since we are using an electric multi-cooker / pressure cooker, for one, it helps if you put the darn plug in, like I am doing right now. I am blessed to have many outlets in this kitchen. Some of it came with the house, some of it came from my husband. Either way, I am grateful. Alright, now most Instant Pots, electric pressure cookers, will have a saute function. Not all of them will have a controllable thermostat on that saute function. Mine, I think, does. I'm not entirely sure. However, I am just going to switch that on to saute, and I'm going to reduce the heat. It's about 280 right now. I'm going to reduce it to about 265. About 268. The lowest goes about 266. I don't want it going too hot. We'll go about 267. 270. 270, that should do it. Okay, and now I'm going to set a timer for about, well, first I have to hit start. And mine starts at about 30 minutes. So I'm going to hit a timer here and have it preheat. I think it's starting. Oh, I accidentally stopped it. Let's start. I'm going to let it preheat for about 3 minutes because I think that's about how long it's going to take for my pressure cooker to preheat. So, while I am waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands because now I can. And then show you the next step of the process. So while we are waiting for that to preheat, there are a few other things that we need to measure out. Part of which will be flour. Now, I've got some whole wheat flour here because I don't feel like going down to the pantry to get all-purpose, but I would recommend using all-purpose flour for this function. You're going to need about a quarter cup or 2 to 3 tablespoons or so. And my husband's signaling at me, but since I already had the flour out, I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Besides, I'll send them out for more flour when we get cookies. So, right. So, a bit of measuring that I need to do. Now, I've got some whole wheat flour here. You can use all-purpose. I would actually recommend using all-purpose. I just don't feel like going down to the pantry right now or sending my husband down quite yet. And I'm going to need about a quarter of a cup, if I wrote down that correctly. Did I write down? Yep, quarter of a cup. Now, a quarter of a cup is about 3 tablespoons, but I'm going to use a quarter cup measuring cup because I don't want to contaminate any of my spices or salt or whatever with flour. This is a third of a cup measuring cup. What the heck? Quarter of a cup. This is an eighth of a cup. This will do. Of flour. That's 1, 2. Because the reason why I don't want to contaminate my spices with flour is that I have friends who have celiac and gluten sensitivities. Big thing you want to keep in mind is don't do that. Yeah, just don't. Alright, and now I've got 2 cans of Bold Rock hard cider. It's, now, Volo tells you that you want about 4 pours of dry cider. Bold Rock is not only dry, it's cheap. as well as pours don't really tell you how much. I mean, it's like pour, 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 and everyone has a different pour. So, for the sake of the recipe, we are going to be using about 2 cups, i.e. a quart. And that could probably... Did you actually start? I'm going to test this out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's hot. Okay, so once I wait for that water to not do that anymore, let's go ahead, for one, and drizzle in about a tablespoon of olive oil, or whatever cooking oil you tend to have. See, I have a little bit of water drop in there. I just generally just want that to coat. And just let that heat, because the next step is seasoning the pork. So you want to take kosher salt here, and the way you generally do a pinch of kosher salt is you take 3 fingers and a thumb pinch, and then just kind of, as you can see here, season from up top as such. Like so, and you can see when I do it up high like that, it has greater surface area in hitting it, and you want to hit that liberally. So I would say about 2 or 3. I'm about 3 pinches of salt here. Alright, next, I'm going to be adding this in batches to brown. So, I'm just going to take a spatula here, scoop some up, and then add them to my pot, like so. So where I have enough of the pot, bottom of the pot covered, but I don't necessarily overcrowd it. And now I just wait for that to brown, and I'm still keeping this spatula to turn it. Well, I'm going to be getting a slotted spoon out of here, which, do I have a slotted spoon available? I've got this guy. Not ideal, I usually prefer to work in plastic, but that's fine. As long as I'm not working with cast iron and a metal utensil, we're good. The stainless steel's not going to get too much of a, what's it called, a scratch when I release it. And that's the thing with stainless steel cooking. You don't want to release the protein from the pan until it releases itself. Otherwise, you're just going to get little bits stuck over, it's going to stick, it's not going to be fun, and we're just going to let it do its thing as I season it more. Same if you're using a Dutch oven. We're just going to brown it in batches. I'm going to get another bowl here. For now, anyway. And once those pieces are browned all over, I'm going to put them into a pot to transfer them. Now, I've got my flour here. The next thing I need to measure out is my black pepper. Black pepper, and I should have mentioned this when I was... Black pepper is over here. Going on about the stuff about this recipe earlier. The Dale lands in the Dungeons & Dragons Forgotten Realm series campaign setting, Faerun, has a very strong, I want to say, southeastern French sort of feel to it, almost to the point where it's more Holy Roman Empire German. If you go more towards eastern France, you're going to find the Alsatian region, towards Switzerland and all that, where you find kind of French cuisine with a lot of German influence. So we're talking black pepper, we're talking cabbage, apple, ale, anything like that. A lot of sausages for that matter too. So the Dale lands happen to strongly resemble that particular style of cuisine as well as that style of culture. So To mention that there's a, well, parsley and a handful of pepper is incredibly common. I mean, it's just not that entirely surprising in this particular sense because we're working well with German cuisine, which is very pepper heavy. Now, let's see if we can. We are not releasing a little bit. We are, as you see, I'm not entirely releasing. I want to wait until these pork bits release themselves from a pot and not hit you in the eye with oil. That's a new one on the show. Ooh, wow. Okay. So, it calls for a handful of black pepper. Now, normally when you see that, I was thinking a handful is more like around either 2 tablespoons or, a tablespoon or 2 teaspoons. We're gonna go with about 2 teaspoons because my husband doesn't really like pepper all that much. So if I want to not only be the only person eating this, I need to hold back a little bit on the pepper. So we're gonna measure out about 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Though feel free to go more and add a third, because 3 teaspoons equal a tablespoon. I'm just gonna go with 2 teaspoons of that. Alright. Am I gonna have to start cooking with a face shield? Because it almost seems like that at this point. Alright. I should not have put that in there. It'll be fine! It'll all be fine. It's all gonna cook. Alright. So, I'm just gonna release that from there. To brown on the other side. This will also add a little bit more texture to your dish by having browned pork, a little bit of extra crust. Rather than just stewed. And that's the thing, it's like I like my stew to have a little bit more texture than just mush. And if you don't do a little bit of browning beforehand, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get mush. Trust me, you don't want that. So, okay, good. We're still working well on our, what's it called? On our thingies. On our sound. We're not losing it. I am uber paranoid. I am super uber paranoid since last episode because, yeah, I had it go out. Okay, so we've got 2 cans of hard cider. I have a 2-cup measuring. Oh, wait, no, that's a pint. What was I thinking? Oh, right, I did a half recipe. Right. We're going to want 2 cups. We're essentially going to have a total of a quart. I forgot how math works. It's 4.4. No, it's how many pints per quart? Is it 4 or 2? Per cup? That sounds about right. Yes. Or is it 4 cups? I don't remember. I'm right. Wait. I'm going to need 4 cans of that. Okay. Well then. Right. So 1 quart of beef bone broth. One quart. We'll see how we're doing. Tell you what, we'll start out with 2 cups each, so a pint each. Thank you, husband. And you know, whatever we have left over, I'll just drink. Not the beef stock, the cider. All right, see how we're doing. Okay. All right. That's looking pretty good, but probably could use a little bit more browning. Let's see, how are we doing on actual time? Maybe about 20 minutes. All right. Probably go ahead and remove some of this to the bowl. What the heck? Just move all of it. All right. Let's get more of that pork in. All right, that's a good amount. Just season a bit more. Ooh, right. Don't worry, I'm keeping track of my drinks. Okay. So, the nice thing about the Instant Pot is it also keeps it all to one dishwashable pot. But like I said, you're also... Now let me go ahead and turn the fan on. So we are getting a little bit of aerosolized cooking oil here. There we go. And you can still hear me, thank goodness. So, alright, let's do a little bit more browning. And it looks like that some of these spots are a little hotter than others. That's fine. Just want browning on each side. And the pressure cooker will finish the job itself. Okay. Right. Where was I? Drinking wine, yes. That's excellent. So, you know what? While I am waiting for stuff to cook, I should probably go ahead and see what I need for chocolate chip cookies. Babe, can you get that one of the bags of chocolate chips out of the pantry? Oh, I thought you'd put it downstairs. Okay. Well, that makes things a lot easier. Because, usually, I just go off the recipe on the bag. I mean, I usually don't have enough patience to look up another one. Do we have a recipe on the bag? Oh, thank goodness we do. Okay, so we need 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Here. I wish I had a clean mixing bowl for you. I think there's some clean ones in here. Right, let's check on that pork. Continue to brown it up. Now imagine if we were doing this the stovetop recipe, it would be taking over 2 hours. Granted, on that 2 hours, if you're preparing for a game, you could also just be preparing for game while that stew simmers. But we're not doing that. So, we don't have that kind of time here on Munchies and Minis. We have time to make a stew and have it in a pressure cooker while we make cookies, but we don't have time to just sit around and do nothing for 3 hours total. Alright, so you want to... There's a 1/4 of a cup measuring cup right there. Oh, it's 1/8 of a cup. No, here. Let me, Here, I don't need measuring cups anymore. Go nuts. Okay. My husband is going to be gathering the ingredients for our cookies while I do this. So we can just start making some cookies after we get this ready to go on its way. Alright, so this is looking pretty good. Good and browned. So I'm just gonna transfer this, and like I said, it's gonna continue to cook. It's gonna cook fully once we actually close this up and let it do its thing. For now, however, we still have stuff to cook with it. So, and we have a final bit of pork to brown until moving this back in. So, let me just get this out of here. And if you notice, I've been doing pork a lot on the show. It's, well, for one, it makes sense. Especially if you're looking at, from a standpoint of a medieval cooking, especially in tavern cooking, pork oftentimes would be salted and preserved. Also, your pigs, while they are your garbage disposals, there's not much function for them beyond being garbage disposals. They also can breed up an entire litter. They don't take that much room to raise. And you can slaughter them after about a year. Now, you're thinking, oh, well, wouldn't it make sense for chickens to be more of the tavern poultry? No, actually not. Chickens didn't really become commonplace until the American mid-century. I want to say 1950s, even. Because, generally, you don't want to kill your egg layers. It's not, chickens themselves were not a profitable crop. They take quite a bit of room to raise. I mean, not terrible amounts of room like, say, cows, but you have an even more profitable protein off a chicken, and that is egg. You don't want to kill your chickens before they've laid their last eggs. So, generally, chicken farming wasn't really hugely a thing until mass production. Cows produce milk. You don't want to kill your cow before it stopped producing milk for the rest of its life. So, once again, beef is not really all that common. Pigs, however, well, yeah, your pigs can breed more pigs, but what else are you going to do with pigs other than eat them and maybe find mushrooms with them? So, for a tavern, it's more common and more likely, if you're going to have animal proteins at all served, you're either going to have eggs, milk, or pork. You hear the term bringing home the bacon? It's because medieval serfs were also were paid with, well, part of their pay was salt pork. So, bacon. As you might have heard my husband saying, pigs were likely kept to also be fed scraps. So, but even then, you can get a lot of meat off a pig. So, and really it's saying that pork is unhealthy is really not all that accurate. I mean, yes, maybe before certain cleanliness standards, but I mean, there was the whole huge anti-fat, like fat cooking in the 90s. Our society's gone through so many different diets based off of suppositions in science, not actual fully researched, but some research, but also a lot of it just has to do with industry. It's like, how can you get more people to eat this thing that they would not eat because they're trying to lose weight? Oh, we'll just cut the fat content. So, there we go. Alright. How are we doing on time? We got about 10 minutes left on the saute function. That's perfect, actually. That's about as much time I think as we need. And yes, we are getting those delicious brown bits on the bottom, as you can see. That is going to add so much flavor to our stew. Okay. We are almost ready to take the remainder of that pork out and get on to the next step. Meantime, I'm going to have some wine. Okay, good, we still have our sound. I am happy to see that. Okay. So, I'm just going to go ahead and move the remainder of this pork to our mixing bowl. Alright, the next step is that we're going to cook the majority of the moisture out of our mushrooms. So, just get this pork out of here. Alright. Okay, and now that I'm no longer working with raw pork, I'm just going to stick this in here and switch to our slotted spoon. So now, it definitely sounds like our Instant Pot is hot again. Yeah, it's an electric pressure cooker. The reason why Bob 3 asked Instant Pot, yes. We are using electric pressure cooker tonight because if we were going to use the stovetop, this would take an extra 2 hours to cook. And we don't have that kind of time tonight. Yes, I will be including instructions on how to use the stovetop with this recipe. Oh, very nice. I've got a, a Fagor pressure cooker. My dad really likes the brand. It's only made in Spain, apparently. He got me one as a birthday present one year. It's a really nice present. So yeah, this one, like, once you get everything, all the layers cooked up, when you seal it up, it takes only 20 minutes to cook as opposed to an extra 2 hours. So that's why we're doing on this. So, yeah, I've got my mushrooms here, and if you were here earlier, I would have about 4 to 5 button mushrooms, about ½ inch sliced, right here. Let me just see if I've got my instructions. What did I actually say? Yes, add the mushrooms. And as you notice, I did not put any extra oil, and that's because I want the moisture to cook out of these suckers. as much as possible before I add oil so they're not slimy. So, yeah, I love using the pressure cooker when I can. I don't always, admittedly, because it takes me forever to get around to us finishing whatever's inside of the pot, and then me getting to clean the pot, and then I have a pressure cooker shell living on my countertop for a while. Kind of what happens when you have only 2 people living together. I mean, granted, you can reheat in the pressure cooker, but eh. Anyway, yes, today's recipe, then to glaze, yes, I'll actually be, well, first I'll be adding, like, the drizzle of oil to the mushrooms, because then I'll be adding the onion, then I'll be adding garlic, and then I'll be deglazing, wait, no. I'll be adding the pork back, flour, and then deglazing it. We're gonna deglaze, we're gonna get there, it's just, it's a process, and that process involves a thickening agent. But as you can see, yeah, it's not really doing much now, but you see some of the mushrooms have gotten a little bit more browned, where the moisture is starting to release. It will soon get to a point where the moisture will actually sweat out of these things to where, you know how it looks like when you're first cooking mushrooms in oil and it gets kind of slimy? It's going to look like that before I add the oil, so why encourage it? Like, what? Let's go ahead and get the moisture out, get us out as much as possible, and then add the oil to cook and add a little bit more browning. The glazed butter flour. I'm actually going off of Volo's recipe, where it says to stir in the flour with the pork before adding the liquid. And because it's kind of funny because the Volo's Guide to the Dalelands, this book was published during the 90s, with the second edition. I can't remember if it's second edition or third edition Dungeons and Dragons. They actually include recipes from these taverns that Volo goes to, and if you're not really familiar with Volo's guides in Dungeons and Dragons, Volo is a bard within the Forgotten Realms campaign, and he has a series of guidebooks where it's essentially kind of like a diner's. It's kind of like a tourist guide to various parts of Faerun. There's the Volo's Guide to the Sword Coast, there's the Volo's Guide to the Dalelands, which that's what today's recipe's from, the Volo's Guide to Waterdeep, and Volo's Guide to Baldur's Gate 2, which is the city of Ankala, as well as the various locations visited within the game Baldur's Gate 2. And I love it because he rates the various locations and taverns and everything. He has a little icon guidebook system where he kind of goes through and rates these places based on the quality of their food or the quality of the stay. And bonus points, if you happen to be playing Baldur's Gate 3, you actually get to meet the Bard Volo, and yes, he is incredibly annoying. It's like, I want to create a D&D character that's basically a Gordon Ramsay. Do it. I love it. Oh gosh. I want to say probably the closest thing I got to was when I was a guest on Audio Dungeon. Which, by the way, they start streaming in about 15 minutes. They're starting their new new campaign tonight, but they're fantastic folks. I made a character who was a tavern owner and a former gladiator. She had basically good at, let's see, her character would be good at potions, easy to anger, nice. My character, Magnolia Mayberry, also known as the Steel Magnolia. Yeah, she had a tavern called the Steel Magnolia in the Sunken City. As you can see here, I've now got those mushrooms starting to expel that liquid, like I was saying earlier. Where she would have the brunch and like a Sunday brunch and brawls, where there was a fighting pit in this tavern, and if you happened to win the various matches, you would get, if you won a match, you got free brunch. So Yeah, that was that was a fun episode. I got to pull all my Southernisms out. It was great. All right, so yep, and you see here as the moisture's coming out of these mushrooms, it is basically cooking in its own moisture and helping kind of release it from the pan. Just letting it do its thing. I mean, let's see here. I could use some more wine. I'm gonna have some more wine. I'm having a good night. I'm very proud of myself for being able to translate this recipe all yesterday so I could just run out to the grocery store today. Oh, I need to put the saute function on a bit more. Okay. Let's put that on for a little bit more time at that 270. Yeah, let's keep that going. But yeah, so I could just run out today, get the ingredients, which, oh gosh, I needed to. Because the thing I discovered about Kroger's website, it lies. It says, oh, this particular item is on this shelf at this Kroger. No, it's not. Oh my god, it's not. And that thing is roast chestnuts, which, yeah, admittedly, they're not that easy to find at grocery stores. You can also order these on Amazon. Just saying. Yes, while you could get chestnuts and roast them, why? They sell them pre-roasted and shelled. Don't do this to yourself. Just get the pre-prep version. That's my tip to you. So, I mean, why make more difficult on you than you have to? Just why? So, and I saw that Strike came in earlier. Hello, Strike. It's good to see you tonight. I look forward to whatever. Strike is my dungeon master, my current D&D game that I've been playing with a couple of friends. A couple of friends that he introduced to me, actually. Yeah. All right. So we're looking pretty darn cooked. So this is what I'm going to be adding. A wee drizzle of olive oil. Kind of recoat that. And this, my friends, is when I add that sliced onion I was telling you about. So, but yes, Strike, I saw that you got your own emoji. Alright, so I've got my onion here. Stir that in. Gonna add a pinch of salt to help release the oils on it. Alright. But, let's see, what did he say earlier? Let's see, Goblin made me a Strike emote. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it, Strike. Let's see, shrooms and onions always smell yummy. Yes, you are correct. I freaking love mushrooms. And caramelized onions. So, yeah, my, goodness. Thing I did on my blog a lot, which, by the way, I have a blog called The Gluttonous Geek. That's actually what I started doing before I started streaming. I'm still doing it, probably a bit more than I am streaming. Just gonna cook that for about, let's go about 3 minutes. Perfect topping for a steak, yes. In fact, it's funny you say that, because one of the things I'm known for are my Dresden Files themed recipes, and I have not one, but 2 recipes for this famous steak sandwich. One of which is caramelized leeks, I think. No. Leeks? No, I did caramelized onions with mushrooms. The second one is just caramelized onions. And, whoo boy, we're talking about onions caramelized in the beer marinade, which I had marinated the steak in for about 2 days. And, oh. Now, granted, in the what's it called? I think I did either strip steak or flank steak in the first recipe. I did sirloin in the second, but that was actually after I visited Chicago. Because there is a pub there, Miller's Tavern, that has probably the closest thing to Mac's steak sandwich from the Dresden Files, I would say. It's French bread that's been pressed, kind of crushed a bit, with mozzarella cheese, a whole sirloin. They don't slice this up. They just put the sirloin about a half-inch sirloin after they've pounded it out and everything. It's about an inch. Whole sirloin with melted mozzarella on top and caramelized onions. No, wait, they don't do caramelized onions. Caramelized onions are at another pub, which also does a similar style pub steak sandwich, where they don't slice the steak, they just put it on whole on this sandwich, and it is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So, I'm kind of stir cooking this a bit to soften up our onions some. Get a little bit of browning, a little bit of caramelization. And yes, it is smelling fantastic right now. Derp-a-derp-a-der. Okay, didn't miss anything. Wine. Okay. Do I still have sound? Good, I still have sound. I am uber paranoid about losing my sound. Alrighty. Yes. About 20 seconds left on that before we add our garlic. Now, Volo's original recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic. The way I see it is that whenever you see 1 clove of garlic listed in the recipe, it needs to actually be 4 cloves of garlic. I did 6. So, alright. Our onions are now ready to add our garlic. About 6 cloves minced. Alright, so now I'm just going to set a timer for a quick 30 seconds. Like I said, garlic burns easily, so you really only want to cook it for no more than a minute, but ideally you want about 30 seconds. You just really want to cook it until you can start smelling it. And by smelling it, I don't mean, oh, there it smells like garlic. I mean, no. There's a warmth to it. There's a certain mellow, sweet warmth to it. I'm saying this, I'm trying to get a tiny piece of garlic out of the rim of, there we go. Right now it's still smelling a little sharp to me. So I'm just going to add, shut up, a touch of olive oil. And thing is, when you're cooking a recipe, you don't necessarily have to follow every single instruction to the letter because your flavors will vary. And a lot of it has to do with, there we go. Now I'm getting that nice mellow smell. So first, I'm going to add my pork. There we go. Give that a stir to get that all in there. Then I'm going to add my flour, which has about 1/4 cup. And I'm going to set a timer for, they say, about a short song. So we're looking at about 2 to 3 minutes. So you just kind of want to cook that and coat it. Get that flour to uniformly coat the contents of the pot. But also this gives time for the pot to sort of reheat and cook the flour as well. Make it kind of a rudimentary roux. I want to say. Alright. About a minute and a half left on this. Oof. Drink of wine. Bob Leg says 1 equals 10 cloves of garlic. You know, I'm half Romanian, so you're not wrong. Yeah, you hear the whole vampires being allergic to garlic. Well, I think it's because if you live in Eastern Europe and you don't eat garlic, then you must be a vampire. There's no other explanation. There's something clearly wrong with you if you're from any Slavic or Carpathian mountain region and you don't eat garlic. That's something for it to do, let the pot reheat. Well, in some ways, Volo kind of reminded me too. So I'm going to start out with 2 cups of hard cider to deglaze. And now I'm going to start out with 2 cups of beef broth as well. I think that might actually be all I need. So basically half a quart pint. Ah! And you know, I think that might actually, yeah, that's enough liquid. I was right the first time. So you want about a pint of hard cider and a pint of beef broth added to the pot. Kind of scrape up the bits. And if your pressure cooker pot happens to be non-stick, use a plastic utensil, not metal like I'm using. So, there we go. Okay. Scraping up the brown bits from the bottom. And now, remember that little herb bundle that I tied up earlier? That's going straight into the pot. There we go. And let's see, what else do I need to do? Stir, derp, 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 derp. Pepper. Yes. That black pepper I showed you earlier. I'm just gonna slap that in there. Okay. Alright. So, a bam, a bam, a bam. Find where the hell I put the lid. Make sure that we're at the thing. Lock it up. And then switch on to pressure to cook. Wait, no. Pressure cook for 20 minutes. Okay. And I can turn that fan off. So now I just have to wait for it to come to pressure and start cooking. Now, like I said earlier, this is not the end of the episode because we have 20 minutes of cooking. It's probably going to take about 5 to 10 minutes for it to come up to pressure to begin with. And then I have to wait 10 minutes for it to naturally release. Now, if you're doing a stovetop with a Dutch oven for this, this is when you bring the liquid up to a boil, cover it with the lid, reduce the heat to low, and then let it simmer for about 2 hours. And then, yes, then you serve it up. But since I said we have 20 minutes to go, let's make some cookies. So, helping me make cookies today is my husband. Because the last time we went nuts over last-minute cookie making, it was together. And we were both were just a wee bit sauced. Okay, we were very sauced. Don't judge me. Alright, so, chocolate chip cookies. Right, so, according to the bag of chocolate chips, last-minute cookies to go with our thing. Okay, so, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Husband, go. Alright, and we need, let's see how much butter. We need... a cup of unsalted butter or margarine softened. That we have. Well, not really sure how softened it is. Right. Oh, so you already mixed the dry ingredients together? Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and switch our camera to our stand mixer here. Because we can. Let's go ahead and get the butter in there. Did you already get the sugar? You get the sugar? We need... how much? 3/4 of a cup granulated sugar and 3/4 of a cup of firmly packed brown sugar. I think the brown sugar's in there too. 1/4 of a cup. Use the 1/8 of a cup. Yeah, just don't cross-contaminate. We're good. Alright, so, dry mix. I'm gonna need... I already have about... how much flour is this? 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. Then I need a teaspoon of baking soda. And do I need a baking powder? I do not. Okay, so do I have any measuring spoons that are not already contaminated? Where'd you go? Haha! Measuring spoons! Yay! Measuring spoons! Let's see, I love Bold Rock too. I'm in Virginia where it's from. Cool! Yeah, Kroger started selling these things for like 15 packs, and well, the promotional was around 15 or 16 bucks. Now they're selling it for 19, but the unit price is still better. And considering that Volo requires dry cider for this recipe, it works out well for me. So, cheers. Oh, that's good. I freaking love cider. I mean, it's weird because I used to be more of a dark beer fan when I was younger. Then I got older and I'm like, that's too much. That's too much for me. No. And now it's like I can't really do dark beer unless it's like with dessert. Otherwise, I just don't want to eat anything else or drink anything else. Let's see. I like all the flavors except the pineapple and pear. Huh. I like pear cider. Here, let me, I need to mute for a second because I need to blow my nose. I usually like pear cider, but if you are a cider fan, you will probably also like mead, honey wine. And honestly, some of the best damn mead I've ever had is here in the state of Georgia, in Viking Alchemist Meadery. They are a They have two locations, one in Smyrna, Georgia, and the other in Marietta, in the Kennesaw, Marietta area. And they share a tasting room with the Ironmonger Brewery, which it's a fun brewery because you can also do axe throwing. But they've been around for a couple of years, and when they first started out, I thought their stuff was too dry, but they've gotten so good. I mean, my husband and I, we make mead here at our home. We make basic vanilla flavored mead. We don't add vanilla to it. We ferment and then age with toasted oak chips, so it gives a very vanilla flavor to it. But it used to be like, oh, well, you know, our mead's better. I need to switch the song on this. This song sounds terrible. Let me... What is that sound? That is my pressure cooker. No wonder. Okay. Alright, so, hey babe, you know how to seal that back up again, right? Okay. Yeah. So, and we recently got a mead from them that was brewed with maple syrup, and it's fantastic, especially with a recent mead they released that has it was brewed with coffee beans. And you're thinking, oh, well, you know, coffee mead, that sounds awful. It's going to be too bitter or strong. And you know what? The balance is perfect on it, especially if you blend it with the maple syrup mead. It's like a pancake breakfast. Anyway. Oh, good. Thanks, babe. Oh my gosh, that smells excellent. Okay, so I've got my sugar and the sugar there. Okay, and okay, so I'm gonna switch you to the if you add the butter. Well, first bring up the thing. Yes. Add the butter. Because if it's made with syrup. You know, I don't know if it's made with syrup, if they added maple sugar to it. I need to ask. To be fair, we were both a little in our cups at that point because we were so excited about getting this pancake breakfast made. Yes. Now, just as a point of reference, a standard stick of butter is about half a cup of unsalted butter. So if it calls for a cup of unsalted butter, it's usually asking for 2 sticks. So that is going in there, and usually you want to put it on your counter about half an hour before you start baking it, especially with cookies, because you need it softened enough to handle that. Now, Carter's going to be adding about 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. And then 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And let me go ahead and get that vanilla for you, love. I got Kirkland Signature Vanilla Extract, because I am cheap. And how much does it need? It needs about... How much? A teaspoon. Did I already put salt in this? I did not put salt in this. How much salt do you need? You need a teaspoon. So 2 of these. 1 and 2. But you know, it's actually interesting because I've asked the same question too. Because my dad does a ton of barbecue. And his barbecue sauce he makes, he uses sorghum syrup. And he's like, well, you should use sorghum syrup to make your meat. I'm just going, I don't know, because that'll change the chemical composition of it. So, alright, now you just want to turn that on, beat it until creamy. And you might need a spatula to let it do its thing. Okay. Alrighty. Admittedly, I need to buy new spatulas because I broke another one the other day. Making cheese straws, of all things. So after heading out now, I'll look for you later. Thanks for joining, Bob Leg. It was really nice talking to you. Glad to have you on the stream. Always good to have someone cool to talk to. So anyway, for those who might be in the background or watching this video later, we're just beating that all until it's creamy, every once in a while stopping it to scrape down the sides. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and whisk up these dry ingredients together. And because I am weird, I like to add spices to my cookies. That's not too weird, right? So I'm going to add some things. And I want to add Chinese 5-spice powder because I think it'll be delicious. So I'm going to do that. Just screw it. Restrictors are for wimps. I've dumped about like 2 teaspoons worth of Chinese 5-spice powder into this. It goes well with chocolate. I mean... Alright. And instead of a whisk, I'm using a fork because a fork takes up less space in my dishwasher. So. Alright. Let's see here. Oh, right, we need eggs. Huh. Is it looking creamy yet? Not quite. What am I doing? Oh, okay. It's doing a thing. And a thing. And another thing. We shall not be concerned with the things. Oh, that's right, it's because the oven is now preheated. And I can clear some of the space here for us to get the cookies into the oven. So we need 2 eggs, which are in here, behind the cheese. Ah, cheese. I love cheese. It's just in my way right now. Hi, Ginger. As well as my cat. My cat is in front of my feet. Hi, Princess. You want to say hi to my viewers? Baby girl. That's right, you're deaf. You can't hear me. Hi. I don't know, maybe she was chased by her brother. I'm okay. We're good. Alright, so that's 1, 2. Egg. Oh, hi, Ginger. I don't want to trip over you, but you keep getting in my way. We'll say hi to the little girl. Hi, baby girl. Want to say hi to my viewers? Come here, little one. Baby girl. This is Ginger. She's our 21-year-old princess. Hi. Mwah. I love you. Okay. Ah, the joys of momtherhood. Okay. Now that my wine glass is finished, it's time to finish out with some cider. Wabam. Let me take a look. Yeah, we can add eggs. Just beat in the eggs. So. There. Come on. Yeah.
Kind of went the wrong way on it.
Yeah, I did.
Pulled laterally.
Yeah, and there's little bits of shell. I got them.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Hi. Hello.
East to west, from north to south.
Hi, Princess. She keeps following. Let's see if you can you see her right now? Oh, yeah, there we are. Oh my goodness, that's too precious. Hi, baby girl. Yeah. And now a guest on my show, Ginger. Princess Ginger von Murdermittens, Arsonistas. Alright. Okay, it's mixed in. Oh, right, we should actually... Yeah, I need to... Hold on. Hands are still wet. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and turn that on to low. And now... I would say gradually add in the dry mix. And feel free to use the little 1/8 of a cup measuring cup to do so. So you don't accidentally break the cup in the thing like I've done before. Alright, let's see, we've got about 13 minutes left on our stew. Just gonna push that a little closer so you're less likely to spill. There you go. Alright, so if you're watching me on this cam, the last little bit I have to do is measure out our chestnuts. Now, most chestnuts, like roasted chestnuts, they come in already roasted, already peeled, thank goodness. And if you want to use unpeeled chestnuts for this recipe, just look up a tutorial on how to roast and peel them. Why would you want to do that? But, you know, especially if you can get this, you can order this online. Anyway, I could be giving you crap about that all day. I could, but I'm not gonna. So, you want about roughly a cup, or just, 2 packages of, like 2 3.5 ounce packages of this stuff, which is pretty soft. And why is this slimy? Yeah, it smells fine. Each package is roughly about half a cup. So we're looking at a total of about maybe 7.5 ounces. Hi, pretty girl. Are you my pretty girl? Yes, you are. I feel like Ginger needs her own show at this point. Hi, Chiptune Brony. How you doing? As you can see, Ginger has joined me today on cooking. Oh my God, I have like over an hour left and only about 12 minutes left on this pressure cooker. Oh wait, no, I've got 22 minutes left technically because I have to let that naturally release before actually serving. Today we are making a pork and chestnut stew, which we already have on our pressure cooker. Now I'm going to be having instructions on how to do stovetop as well as electric pressure cooker / Instapot for this recipe. The difference is, well, about an hour and 40 minutes. After cooking, well, various stuff in an electric pressure cooker, you would pressure cook for about 20 minutes to cook it all the way through and let it thicken up and all that. For a stovetop, you would just have it simmering on low for about 2 hours. Since we only have 2 hours, and I've already used up a lot of that, we are going the faster route. And how am I doing? Well, I'm doing fairly well. I am very proud of myself for sticking to my schedule again. And I'm reading books like crazy. I just finished The Kingdom of Back, which is I want to say kind of a historical fantasy novel that's from the point of view of Mozart's sister, Nannerl, where it's kind of interesting because it is very based on history. Let me just go ahead and put it to Carter making cookies in the background there. Where Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and her sister, what's her name? Mariana Nannerl. When they were growing up, they made this little fantasy world up called the Kingdom of Back. So the novelist Marie Lu wrote a novel based off of that concept, where this made-up kingdom, fantasy fairy tale kingdom that they created was actually real, and it's kind of the reverse backward version of our own world. And I just finished that book. I've got some ideas, one of which is to go off of the German style cooking of the era with they have one time when they mention spatchel and lentil soup. Now, I was thinking instead of doing the lentil soup, I would rather do something a little bit more whimsical. So, another thing that's mentioned in the book is when Nannerl happens to go through a portal into this other world, she happens to see this. She goes through a tunnel and she sees this plump, egg-sized fruit hanging from ivy vines from this tunnel. And she takes one down. It's the shape of a musical note. She takes one down, she bites into it, and it tastes of citrus and sugar and some otherworldly spice. So I was thinking kind of doing a take on that of kind of a dessert spatchel. Now, if you ever don't know what spatchel is, it is an egg-based pasta dumpling, mostly from German and Slavic cultures, where it's kind of an egg dough that's been kind of pressed through a grate and then boiled. I was thinking about maybe doing a dessert style spatchel, which is a thing, where I would make blue spatchel and maybe do kind of what I did for the Carols, the Marvel, Captain Marvel cookies, where I would use kind of blue Kool-Aid to flavor the spatchel and make it kind of a citrusy, sugary, like blue dumplings, and then serve it maybe with some cherries and oatmeal and walnuts. They also mention spiced walnuts when they are in Vienna. So I was thinking that might be kind of an interesting dessert dish. Kind of whimsical, but still very German. So that's an idea I've got for that. I also finished the first book of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which the Shadow and Bone trilogy is being made into a Netflix series, or it has been made into a Netflix series, which is going to be releasing in April. And it's kind of a, I want to say Slavic, kind of Russian alternate universe sort of, here babe, I think the next is just kind of fold those in. Kind of alternate realities. Can you add the miniature creation request in the rewards list? Oh gosh. I am so behind on mini painting, it's kind of insane. I don't actually design minis, I just sometimes paint them, and so does Carter. But sometimes I've got surprises. I hate making promises that I don't know if I can keep, because I don't know if I can keep them. However, I'll take a look at what kind of fun stuff we can include in the next round of surprises. I still owe some people some Christmas ornaments, I know that. And we'll see what else sort of things my husband's got ready to print up. I mean, it might just be here's a thing to print up and here's some recipe cards. So we'll see about that. And Chiptune Brony, don't worry, you've sent me a lot of stuff. I will include you. I still have your address and everything. When you were first on my Patreon, I will include you on the round of surprises when I mail them out. I just haven't mailed anything out as of late, so I apologize. I've been really bad about that. I've got things to send people. I've got things that we can print out. Even if it's like tiny little Bulbasaurs, I'm sure we can print out something fun. So, 3D printed Bulbasaurs for you to paint. But hey, who doesn't love Bulbasaur? Number one, Bulbasaur's awesome. I love Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur. Okay, how are we doing on that? I have over 7,000 channel points. Oh, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. You're like on every show. You and Strike are my two most dedicated fans. Thank you. Oh, the channel rewards. Yes, God, I still haven't had a chance to touch that yet. Oh my gosh, 12,000 here. Holy crap! I am so behind with Twitch. It's ridiculous. God, shame. Oh, they do. I'm just still getting caught up on Twitch. Oh, I feel like an idiot. Here, let me get you some baking sheets so we can bake those suckers. Oh my gosh. Here I am just trying to get used to doing stuff again. I mean, I have almost 400,000 for Rock Punch. Yeah, don't get me started on how many Twitch points I have for Little Red Dot. It's nuts. Don't put anything on that yet. I'm just gonna line those with some parchment paper. Oh my gosh. I need to actually figure out rewards for things. Oh my gosh. Content creation's hard, guys. It really is. I'm just sitting here going, what the fuck do I make for the next round of stuff? I don't know. I mean, I'll have to... 36,000 for Dot. Good God, Strike. I mean, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, but oh my gosh. Why does Twitch keep on giving me things that make more work for me? Why? I need to actually get emotes created. I mean, part of me, I will admit, the reason I've been holding on back on certain things is like, I don't know if I have enough, an active enough of an audience to do some of the stuff to put in chat. I mean, I appreciate it if I mean, I think it's awesome if you still want to do it anyway. If you still want to put emojis and stuff in chat, I love it. It's like, if you need to figure stuff out, I'm happy to help. Yes, Strike, I need your help. I need your help because I am a busy content creator figuring out what the heck I'm doing. But I still haven't figured it out yet. We'll talk, like maybe we'll get on the chat earlier. Like if we have game tomorrow night, so you know, maybe if you happen to be on a little earlier, we'll talk on chat before game. Before you might murder my character. For good! We do have game tomorrow night, yep. Oh gosh. Oh. Let's see, how are we doing? We got 2 minutes left. Which is fine. It's fine because when you're using a pressure cooker, whenever you see a recipe that says natural release on an Instant Pot or pressure cooker, it means you turn the pressure cooker off and just let the pressure release on its own for about 10 minutes, and then after that time, you do the pressure release valve to get whatever steam is left over. At least far no. Yeah, I know we've been kind of behind on doing game, haven't we? Actually, it's kind of crazy because Carter's group is about. Well, they just finished their 3rd campaign together. Yeah, they just finished Icewind Dale. They've finished 3 campaigns together. It's nuts. They're about to start their next campaign this week, or it's next week?
Having a session 0 next week.
Session 0 next week. So, yeah. And I've been reading like crazy, using up my library card. Here, I'll give you a spoon. Spoons are good. Okay. Let me... Here. Give you a dish. Here. Flour. Well, dish for flour. I'll give you some flour from my whole wheat thing. Okay, so it sounds like my pressure cooker just went off. Where's the flour container? Ah, there it is. Let's see. And you know what? Even if we don't have game tomorrow, Strike, we'll if they say, hey, I can't do the game tonight, we'll just say, you know what, screw it, we'll have a Discord chat. So, sounds good to me. Totally fine sometimes. Spoon. Okay, so we're now currently at a 12-minute keep warm thing on my pressure cooker. However, I'm just gonna shut that thing off. I'm gonna shut it off. Stop it. Is there an off button? I don't have an off button. I'm gonna unplug it. And I'm going to set a timer for about 10 minutes. Let it naturally release pressure by just being turned off. So, in the meantime, Carter is making cookies. Which, do you want me to switch the camera over? My husband is being incredibly helpful tonight in rolling up some cookies for us, while I blather on kind of tipsily. We very much appreciate your help. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other stuff to do recently. Yeah, I can do that. There we are. We'll throw that in the delicate cycle, don't worry. Oh man, would you like a drink, my love? Okay. But, yeah, trying to think of other stuff to do recently. My brain is just kind of, boop, it's gone. Right, yes, I am also reading, My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. For those who are on my Patreon, you would recognize that name because I recently released a cheese straw and taco casserole recipe based off of his book, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Which, where's the bag? Okay. Yeah, this book is based in the same universe, the same neighborhood as Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, except it's more from the point of view of the teenagers. This particular book came out before Southern Book Club Guide to Slaying Vampires, so I'm like, you know what? I like this book so much, I'm going to read other works by this guy, and yeah, this one takes place between 1888 and 1889. Sorry, 1988 and 1989. So I've got a couple things already listed. We've got like Rice Krispie treats and like cereal and all sorts of crazy stuff. There were brownies listed at one point, and there is some fun snack potential in this book, I think. There's also, like I was saying, the Shadow and Bone trilogy. A lot of Russian food listed. Which, you know, I've always been interested in Russian food. I've only gotten to go to a Russian restaurant once when I was in Austin, Texas, for a convention. So I'm looking forward to trying some more out. Though it's going to take a little time for me to figure out how I'm going to make that work with this particular universe, admittedly. But I mean, come to think of it, too, considering we are getting towards summertime. I mean, it's the beginning of spring, which means by the time I actually post this recipe on the blog, it'll be summer. I'm thinking about going ahead and making up the recipe I have in mind for the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. for a strawberry jam-basted smoked brisket. Kind of an oak and possibly olive wood smoked brisket. That's on the plan. Another thing is also blue chocolate chip cookies, which I want to do something other than just dyeing it blue with food coloring. I mean, granted, I could do the Kool-Aid trick, but there are still other ways of turning it blue without using Kool-Aid, and I feel like I just don't want to become one note with that. So that's the idea, and not the complete plan, but that's the idea. And did I actually set a timer? No, I didn't. How long was I blathering? Let's assume I was blathering for about 5 minutes and set a timer for 6, and then we'll take a look at it. Oh, wait. Did I set a timer? Oh, no, that's a timer for that. Timer for the stew, not for the cookies. I'm going to set on 6 minutes and then take a look at it again. Oh, boy. I love you, my dear. I'm sorry. We were just going off the recipe. Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Less than 5 minutes left on that stew. You do? Okay. How much dough are we looking at? I'm not looking at that much. Okay. What was that? Oh, all right. Will that be okay? Okay. There's probably the remainder of this broth in the fridge because I opened it. Get the cheese back to where it needs to be. Oh man. Oh, I meant one of the reasons why I haven't been cooking that much is we're still trying to make our way through leftovers. So a while ago, I made a ton of filling for pizza tacos, and then our good friend Melinda came over and gave us a big thing of chili. And then my dad came over and brought some smoked pork he had made. So we've been mixing that together in one pot and then using that as like chili or spaghetti sauce. So we're still making through leftovers. I still have a couple slices of that casserole I made the other week, actually. So that's been lunches when I don't get so sick of it. I'm like, screw it, I'm ordering Thai. I want Thai food. I want tofu and vegetables, dang it. So, yeah, that's been my life. But we've been doing good. Doing as well as we can. We've been doing a lot of renovations recently. We now are able to see the floor of one of the bedrooms we haven't seen in, well, forever. And, what else? Finished cleaning the den, cleaning the living room, the dining room. Made 2 trips out to 2nd and Charles, made probably about $80 worth in store credit at this point. And, yeah, we still have got more more stuff to do. Carter's wanting me to get my ass going on a cookbook, which I want to. I need to actually finish rereading the Dresden Files series. In fact, I'm now like scrolling past that reminds me. Oh god, what a strike saying. Oh gosh, what can he say? I totally need to hire you as a consultant. Okay. I have no idea what I'd charge you, dude, because you're on my Patreon pretty you're like my for foodstuffs in my world. Okay. Okay. Dang it, I want to go back to Chicago. And the fact that I also have more friends out there too is a bigger incentive for us to go back. So when I want to come back to Chicago. Yes, I want to come back to Chicago. Dang it, Strike! I freaking miss Chicago. You guys have such great food out there. I'm not gonna lie. Also the plan was to, cook up a dinner for my friends. So it's like, okay, you guys, like you, Metric Tavern guys, like my neighbors are dead guys. I mean, sounds like a party. And I will admit, I'm incredibly jealous of your mass transit system. All right, so we are back to our pressure cooker. We're just gonna move this out of the way some. Kind of show it from the side. Let's see if I can move this back some. There we go. All right. Moment of truth. Still quite a bit of pressure there, huh? Okay, yes. I'm planning to come back to Chicago. The way I see it is that I only got a small glimpse of what's available in the food world out there, especially for the Dresden Files. I mean, yes, there's stuff in, the places that are safe for the white folks to go, but I don't feel like I got a full view of Chicago, especially if I want to try some of the South Side stuff, which is admittedly a little dangerous. I mean, why lie about it? Okay, that would be the cookies. Oh my gosh, that smells amazing. Oh, Alright, let's see how we're looking. Oh wow, those cookies are baking together. I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm just gonna do another minute or two on there. Not 2 minutes. Oh my gosh, it smells amazing! But also, I didn't actually get to try out certain Chicago staples. Like, I still have not had a Chicago hot dog. I still haven't had Chicago-style barbecue, where it's done in an aquarium. Alright. Alright. So now... That's hot. Where did I put that slotted spoon? Screw it, I don't need it right now. I need a ladle. So, just kind of... You see this loveliness right here? Doesn't that look pretty? I think it looks pretty. And that pork should just kind of fall apart. Yep. That is cooked through pork. Alright, so first, I'm going to find that herb bundle, and I'm going to get it the hell out of my stew. Just going to get that with a pair of tongs. Get my trash can here. This thing here, you know how I told you I was going to throw it away? Well, there we go. It's thrown away. Okay. Now, admittedly, I still wish I could have used bone broth for this. There's one package of chestnuts. Alright, that's my cookies. These are kind of half folded over cookies. How are those? What do you think?
Done enough?
Okay. We don't really have cookies as so much as we have cookie piles. I am okay with this. Alright, there's one thing of chestnuts. And now... I have not. Go for about 10 to 12 minutes. So... Second package of chestnuts. Just give that a stir. And did all my chestnuts disappear? Where'd they go? I'm gonna have to make sure I have a chestnut or two at least for the pictures. Oh. Any more in here? Nope. Ah, there's a chestnut. Okay. Alright. So we got some stew. And some parsley. And there we go. The, what's the name of this place? The Fall of Stars, I think? The Fall of Stars, Boar and Chestnut Deep Pot. Oh boy, and we are definitely over 9 p.m., but that's fine. I'm just happy that my microphone stayed active this entire time. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me for Munchies and Minis tonight. This was definitely, it's definitely an episode. Yay! Strike's new emote, I love it. It's so fun. Yes, I should probably eat dinner now. Anyway, I have no idea what I'm cooking up next week. None whatsoever. If you're on my Patreon feed, please do check my Patreon. I will be putting out a poll soon as I figure out what to put on said poll. Anyway, my name is Catherine Barsonistis. You've been watching the Gluttonous Geek Presents, Munchies and Minis. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, and stay you. Have a great night. Bye.